Hello everyone and welcome to the biology lecture series, and today we are going to discuss the topic control and coordination. So in this chapter I will first give you a brief idea about the coordination, what is the definition of the coordination, okay, and then we'll study about the coordination in plants as well as coordination in animals. Alright, then later on in the next lectures we will be studying about the rest of the topics. So let's begin with this lecture. So now all living organisms, they show irritability as well as the sensitiveness. Okay, and this property, okay, to give response to the stimulus, this causes this irritability or the sensitiveness. Now stimulus, it can be of two types. First is the external stimulus and second one is the internal stimulus. Now what is external stimulus? Stimulus that arise from outside the body. Okay, so you can write stimulus that arise or its origin is outside the body, and internal stimulus, they arise from the inside or within the body of the organism. Now example of external stimuli. Example can be, it can be from the touch. Okay, so this stimulus can be from the touch, it can be pain. Okay, and external stimulus can be like if you see some person and you like that person, that is also a kind of stimulus also. Okay, and what are this internal stimulus? What is an example of internal stimulus? So these are, you can say, like hunger. So this stimulus arise from within the body of the organism. So these are known as the internal stimulus, and body responds respond to this external as well as the internal stimulus, and it can either show irritability or it can show sensitivity or it can show some other kind of reaction. So all the living organisms, they adapt themselves to the external and the internal factors with proper adjustment. So you have to adjust to the external as well as the internal factors. So if you talk about your surroundings, you are surrounded by lot of factors. So you can say lot of stimulus are present in the environment and lot of stimulus are present in the internal environment also, that is within the body. So living organisms have to adapt themselves, okay, by adjusting everything. Now this adjustment of the vital activities of the life, this is known as coordination. So how can you define coordination? The adjustment of the vital activities. So those activities which are required for the sustenance of the life, okay, the adjustment of those activities, this is known as coordination. Clear? Now the working of one system is coordinated with that of the other system. So there is a coordination between one system and another system. Likewise, you can say if you talk about the organ system, so one is the digestive system, other you can say the excretory system. Okay, and so there is a coordination between all the system present within the body. All right, so one system alone cannot work, so they have to work in the coordination. That was the meaning of this line. The working of one system is coordinated with that of the another system. Example, during eating. So whenever we eat, our body performs several kind of coordinated activities. So eating and digestion as well as the excretion, these are all the coordinated processes. One cannot function without the other, or one system is dependent on the other system. Now what happens? The nose, it differentiates the smell of the food, and hand, you can say, it serves as the organs of the ingestion. So nose has the olfactory receptors, so this helps in the smelling of the food. Okay, so you smell the food and then you eat the food using your hands. So there is a coordination between the nose, the function of the nose, and the function of the hands. Then only the entire activity is done. Now the alimentary canal and the digestive glands, or the glands present in the alimentary canal. They help in the digestion of the food. All right. So here you can see all the organs, they perform the coordinated activities. So one organ is nose. All right. So there is a coordination between the nose, there is a coordination between the hands, as well as there is coordination between this alimentary canal and the digestive glands. So first you will ingest the food. Okay. What is ingestion? Ingestion is the taking in of the food through mouth, and the organ used here is the hand. So first is the ingestion, then after ingestion you have to digest this food. So next is the digestion. Okay, and for digestion, what you need, or the digestive system comprise of what? It consists of the alimentary canal and the digestive glands. Now what are the parts of the alimentary canal? So if we talk about the alimentary canal, what are the parts here? So first is the mouth. Then after mouth, the food enters into the esophagus. And then after esophagus, it leads into the stomach where digestion takes place. But the food is still not completely digested. And from the stomach, the food will reach the, or you can say the undigested food reaches the small intestine. And from the small intestine, it will reach the large intestine. This is clear. So there is a coordination between all these parts, okay, or the, you can say, components of the alimentary canal. Then what happens? There are a lot of digestive glands also present. So if we talk about the digestive system, one component of the digestive system is the alimentary canal. Another one is, second one, these are the digestive gland. So these digestive glands, what are these? These are liver, gallbladder, as well as the pancreas. So all these organs, they have to function together, or they have to function in the coordination. Then only a particular activity takes place, or particular activity is performed. So you can see from this example how the coordination between the organ as well as the organ system occurs. Okay. Now digestive system was one system. Another system can be the excretory system. So what happens? From the large intestine, the undigested food, it is thrown out of the body through anus. All right. And the toxic materials which are produced in the body, they are thrown out by the excretory system. So excretory system consists of the kidney. So kidney are the main excretory system. So you can see there is a coordination between here the digestive system as well as the excretory system also. So this is known as the coordination, which is very important to perform a particular function. Now, control and coordination. So control and coordination, it helps to maintain a steady state of stability. So it provides the stability and steady state within an organism in constantly changing environment. So the environment is changing, okay, but we have to maintain a stability, we have to maintain a steady state. Okay, so control and coordination helps to maintain a stability or the steady state within an organism, so that the organism is not affected by the changing environment. Now the mechanism of maintaining the internal steady state, this is known as homeostasis. Okay, so because of homeostasis, the internal stability or the internal state of the body is maintained. For example, you can say maintenance of the body temperature. Example can be maintenance of the body temperature. So our body temperature always remains constant. Okay, clear? So our normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. So whenever there is a change in the body temperature, then it is restored back to the 37 degrees Celsius. So 37 degrees Celsius is the normal temperature. Okay. Then what happens? There is a region in the brain known as hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain, this helps in the regulation of the or the maintenance of the body temperature. Okay, so this is the role of the hypothalamus. It maintains the internal balance. You can say what is the role of hypothalamus? It maintains the body temperature. Okay. Now, examples we can take examples of a mountaineer. So mountaineer, they feel the lack of oxygen at high altitudes. So why they feel lack of oxygen? So at high altitudes, there is a very low pressure. Okay. If we talk about the high altitude, so at high altitude, what happens? There is a very low atmospheric pressure. Okay. So because of this low atmospheric pressure, what happens? The saturation of the oxygen is low. So what happens at low atmospheric pressure? There is low oxygen saturation. What do you mean by low oxygen saturation? It means that the oxygen is not able to bind to the hemoglobin. So you know hemoglobin is a pigment present in the RBCs and it binds to the oxygen, and this is how oxygen is carried through blood to the various tissues and the cells of the body. So low oxidation saturation means there is low or less binding of oxygen to the hemoglobin. So hemoglobin can be abbreviated as HB. So this happens at the high altitude. Now, what happens here? Now there is a low saturation of the oxygen. So in order to cope with this, the low oxygen levels, number of RBCs increase in the person. Okay. So in order to cope with this condition, more number of RBCs are produced. So more number of RBCs, so more number of hemoglobin. Okay. And they can carry more amount of oxygen. Now it is the internal environment, means physiological. So all the physiological activities, okay, they are related to the internal environment. So the internal environment that adjusts to the external stress, that is the lack of oxygen. So what is happening here? The internal environment of means the internal, you can say the state, okay, or you can say the internal conditions is being restored. It is being maintained. So a steady state is being maintained, okay, and the body adjusts to the external stress. What is the external stress? Lack of oxygen. You can say low level of oxygen. There is low level of oxygen. Clear? So this is the stress here, and the body is adjusting to the stress by creating more number of RBCs. Now, similarly, mammals, they are capable of maintaining a constant body temperature. I've already explained you, hypothalamus is a region that helps to maintain the constant body temperature. Now, the vital activities of the organisms, these are controlled by the endocrine system as well as the nervous system. Okay. So, what is endocrine system? Endocrine system, it produces hormones. Okay. We'll study about this hormones also. How can we define hormones also? Okay. So these hormones, they are produced by the glands known as the endocrine gland. They are produced by the endocrine glands. Okay. So these endocrine glands, these are known as the ductless glands. All right, this is clear. So these ductless glands, they directly pour their secretion into the blood. So the secretions are directly poured into the blood. That's why they are known as the endocrine gland, and they are involved in the production of the hormones, which helps in the regulation of the vital activities. So the vital activities are also controlled by the nervous system, okay, which are made up of the neurons. The neurons are the structural and the functional unit of nervous system. Now there are two types of coordinations. We have already studied nervous as well as the hormonal coordination. So hormonal coordination done by the endocrine system. Now in animals, both hormones, okay, as well as the neurons. Neurons are the part of the nervous system. Now in animals, hormones such as insulin, okay, what is the role of insulin? It helps to maintain the sugar levels. Okay, some other hormones are also present like estrogen and the progesterone. So these hormones, these are produced by the ovaries. Insulin is produced by the islets of Langerhans present in the pancreas and helps to maintain the sugar level. Estrogen and progesterone, which are produced by the ovaries, these give the female body characteristic. Okay, and it also help in the development and storing of the egg. And the testosterone, so testosterone is the male hormone and it is produced by the testes, okay, and it helps to develop the male sexual characters. Now neurons, I've already told you, they are the structural and the functional unit of the nervous system. These both are involved in the regulating and coordinating various vital activities going on within the organism. Now in plants, only chemicals known as the phytohormones, they do the coordination in the plants. So phytos is the term related to the plants. So you can also call them plant hormones. So there are a lot of plant hormones such as one is auxins. So these are all plant hormones. Then we have cytokinin. Then we have gibberellic acid. Okay. Then another one is the abscisic acid. Okay. So these are some of the hormones: auxin, cytokinin, gibberellin, ethylene, and there is one gaseous hormone known as ethylene. So these are the hormones or the plant hormones or the phytohormones that do the coordination activities in the plants. Now let's discuss what is hormones. So hormones can be simply defined as these are the chemical messengers that orchestrate various functions within your body by transmitting signals through your bloodstream to organs, skins, muscles, and other tissues. Okay, so this is known as hormones. They are the chemical messengers, okay, which are present within the body and they are secreted by the endocrine glands and they transmit signals through your bloodstream. So they are transported through the blood to various organs, skins, muscles, as well as other tissues. Some of the hormones we have already discussed, and we have discussed about the hormones present in animals also, such as estrogen, progesterone, insulin, as well as the testosterone. And I've already also told you some of the hormones present in the plants, that were auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, ethylene, and abscisic acid. Now neurons, what are neurons? So neurons, they are the fundamental units of the nervous system that transmit signal throughout your body, enabling various activities. So these are the structure and the functional unit of the nervous system. Now let's discuss about the movement in plants. So plants cannot move, okay, they are still, but the parts of the plant can move. Okay, so the plants are fixed in the soil, so they cannot avoid various stimuli by moving away. Okay, so they have to protect themselves, but they are fixed, so they have to avoid various stimuli so they shows some little bit of movement. Okay, so and there is no brain like, means there is no nervous system present in the plants. So we can say there is no brain like structure in the plants to adapt themselves according to the changes in their surroundings. Okay, so although plants are fixed in the soil, but they show, or you can say the parts of the plants show little bit movement, such as movement of the leaf, you can say, or you can say there is a movement of roots downwards, okay, towards the gravity. All right, and movement of the leaves is toward the sunlight. Okay, that is known as phototropism. So the plant exhibit various movements also, okay, such as the phototropism. So entire plant is not moving here, but the part of the plant is moving here. So what is phototropism? Movement of the plant towards the lights. So what happens? You must have seen in the sunflower also, the flower moves towards the light. Okay, and the leaves also sometimes they move towards the light. So this is known as phototropism. Photo means light and tropism means movement. The movement in response to the light, and tropism means movement. Clear? Now flowering also. Flowering also is a kind of movement. Geotropism. Geotropism is the when root move towards the soil during the germination. So roots always it grow downwards towards the gravity. Okay, and this is movement towards the gravity is known as positive geotropism. Okay, now opening and closing of the stomata is also a kind of movement. Okay, that is dependent on the changes in the turgor pressure in the stomata. So that is also a kind of movement in the plants. So here you can see whole plant is not moving, but some parts are moving. Here plant, the whole plant is present in the same place. Now the plants, they show positive as well as negative responses. Okay, so positive responses means towards the stimulus and negative response means away from the stimulus. The positive will be towards the stimulus and negative will be away from the stimulus. All right, so the plants show positive and negative responses. So they can move towards light or away from the light, towards water or away from the water, towards gravity or away from the gravity, means negatively geotropic or positively geotropic, and touch also, which is known as thigmotropism, towards the touch or away from the touch. Now the movement of the plant due to stimuli, these are called as the tropic or the curvature movement. Okay, so we were talking about the phototropism. Tropism means movement. Okay, so the movement of the plants because of the stimuli, and stimuli can be, it can be any light source, it can be presence of water, gravity also is a stimulus, touch is also a stimulus. So touch is an external stimulus, light is also external stimulus, water, gravity, these are external stimulus. Okay, and the plant, it react either moving towards the stimulus or away from the stimulus, and these are also known as curvature movements. Okay, why they are called curvature movements? Because there is a growth of the cells in the certain region and there is less growth of the cells in the other region, and that causes the curvature, and the change in the curvature causes the movements. Okay, now the response of a plant to the response of a part of the plant to light is known as phototropism. Okay, so movement towards light. Stem is positively phototropic, means it grows towards the light, while the root, it is negatively phototropic. Okay, means roots, they grow downwards, or we can say it is negatively phototropic and it is positively geotropic, means it is moving towards the gravity, it is moving downwards inside the soil. Now the growth response of a part of the plant to gravity, Okay, means attraction force. Gravity is what? It is the attraction force of the earth. This is known as geotropism. Now shoot, we can say it is negatively geotropic, means it is going against or away from the gravity, while root, it is positively geotropic. It grows towards the gravity. Now next one is the chemotropism. The first one was phototropism, then we studied about the geotropism, and then we are now studying about the chemotropism. So this is the it is due to the chemical stimulus. Okay, example is the growth of the pollen tube. Now pollen, okay, it lands on the stigma. Okay, you must be knowing is pollen whenever it lands on the stigma. So this is the stigma, this is the style, and then this base is swollen, that is known as the ovary. So this is ovary, style. So this is how the gynoecium looks like, or you can say this is how a carpel looks like. So this is a structure of a carpel, also known as the pistil, CAR. So this is the carpel, which is represents the female reproductive organ. So here this is the stigma. Stigma is the receptive region, means it receives the pollen. Now there are some chemicals released at the stigma. Okay, and because so these chemicals are recognized by the pollen tube, and if it is compatible, then the pollen tube is formed from this pollen. Okay, so the growth of the pollen tube is known as the chemotropic process. It is because of the chemicals present in the stigma. Now the response to the stimulus independent of any independent of direction, this is known as the nastic movement. So nastic movement, okay, here the stimulus, here the movement is not dependent on the stimulus, or you can say the direction of the movement, okay, is not dependent on the stimulus. So you can write the direction of the movement. It is direction of the movement is not dependent on the, you can say, direction of the stimulus. These are known as the nastic movements. Example of the nastic movement is you can say leaves of the Mimosa pudica. So Mimosa pudica, it is known as the touch me not plant. Here what happens, whenever you touch the plant, the leaves, they droop down or they bend. Now why they bend? Okay, if we talk about the Mimosa pudica, so whenever we touch the Mimosa pudica, the touch is a stimulus here. Okay, it acts as a stimulus. It is an external stimulus. So a touch, it triggers a response in the plant, causing it to close the leaves. So what happens? The touch induced movement is accompanied by the release of certain chemicals from the stem. So whenever you touch the touch me not plant, then what happens? Some chemicals, they are released from the stem, and these chemicals, it moves out of the cell. Okay, these chemicals, what they do, this chemical induce water to move out of the cells. All right, and because of the movement of this water out of the cells, there is a decrease in the turgor pressure, and because of this, the leaves, they droop down. All right, this is clear. Now next is the effect of light. Let's study about the effect of the light. Now flowering and the seed germination, they are regulated by the duration of the light. Okay, and this phenomena is known as the photoperiodism. Okay, now what is photoperiod? Photoperiod is the relative length of day and night. What is photoperiod? So before understanding photoperiodism, we should know about the photoperiod. So photoperiod is the relative length of day and night. Of day and night. One day is made up of, it consists of 24 hours. Okay, so entire day, you can say one day, it has 24 hours. So what do you mean by relative length of day and night? So day can be, suppose, 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. Okay, so this is known as photo period, or you can say 14 hours of day and then 10 hours of night. This is also a kind of photo period. Okay, the total should be 24. So relative length of day and night, this is known as photo period. Okay, and the flowering as well as the seed germination, they are regulated by this photo period, or you can say the duration of the light, as well as dark also you can write. So this phenomena is known as photoperiodism. Okay, and these processes, flowering and seed germination, these are affected by photoperiod. Now plant respond to this stimulus, means the light duration, with the help of the phytochrome pigment. So there is a pigment known as the phytochrome pigment. So this pigment, okay, is responsible for the process known as photoperiodism. Clear? Now let's study about photoperiodism. How can you define photoperiodism? So photoperiodism, this refers to the biological response of the organisms, particularly the plants, to changes in the duration of day length, influencing various physiological processes such as flower, dormancy, and plant growth in accordance with the seasonal changes. Okay, so this is known as the photoperiodism. Photo means light. Okay, photoperiod, I've already told you what is a photoperiod. So photoperiodism is the biological response. Okay, so there is a response of the organism. What is the response? They will flower or they will not flower. Seed germination we were talking about. So breaking of the seed dormancy as well as the plant growth. So these are the biological response. Okay, and these biological response, these are dependent on the duration of the daylight, or you can also say they are dependent on the relative length of day and night. They are dependent on the relative length of day and night, or simply you can also say they are dependent on the duration of the light. Okay, so this much hours of daylight or the sunlight should be given, and a particular amount of night time should also be given. Means the plants require light as well as some hours of darkness also. Okay, so this duration of light, this influence the various physiological processes in the plant. Okay, and when there is a change in the when there is an influence on this physiological process, then a biological response is generated. Clear? So this is known as the photoperiodism. Now we were talking about the phytochrome. So phytochrome is involved in sensing the photoperiod. So phytochrome is nothing but it is a proteinaceous pigment, and it controls several light dependent developmental processes. Okay, like germination, means seed germination, growth as well as the flowering. So whenever the plant flower, then it enters the reproductive phase. Okay, so the germination is also controlled by the phytochrome, as well as the plant growth, as well as the flowering. These are all dependent on the photoperiod, which is sensed by the pigment known as phytochrome. Now phytochrome, it exists in two forms, PR form and the PR form. And PFR, this is the active form, and both this PR and the PFR form, these are interconvertible. Okay, so phytochrome, first of all, it exists in two forms, PFR, and the other form is the PR. Okay, so these are the two forms, and these are interconvertible. All right, these are interconvertible, and PFR, this is the active form. Okay, so PR should be, this is the inactive form. Clear? Now let's study what is PFR, what is PR, why this is. So FR stand for the far red and R stand for the red. Now let's study about what is PFR and PR. Now you already know what is the active form, PFR. Now the phytochromes, they are initially synthesized in the inactive form. What was the inactive form? PR. Okay. Now, this inactive form has an absorption maxima at the 660 nanometer. Now, upon absorbing a photon means light, this forms PR. Okay, which is red absorbing. So PR form absorbs the red light. It converts to the active form. So PFR is the active form, which is the far red absorbing pigment. Okay, and this has absorption peak at or absorption maxima at 730 nanometer. Okay, so you can write here about PFR. PFR maximum absorption is at 730 nanometer. Whereas if you talk about the PR, the absorption is at the 660 nanometer. Okay, so this is red light absorbing pigment, and this is far red light absorbing pigment. Okay, now while PFR, it is the active form, it can revert to the PR form and become inactive upon absorbing a far red photon. So whenever PFR, it absorbs a far red light or the far red photon, it can revert back to the PR form, which is the inactive form. And again, vice versa can happen. PR form can absorb the red light and it can get converted into the active form, which is the PFR. Okay, so these both are interconvertible. Okay, so whenever PR form, it absorbs the red light, it can convert into PFR, and PFR can absorb the far red light and it can convert back to the PR. So here what is means PFR, which is an active form. So this is the active form. Okay, so this can revert back to the PR by absorbing a far red photon. Now, photoperiodism. What is photoperiodism in flowering? We have already discussed it is a physiological change occurring in the plant in response to the relative length of day and light. Now, the term photoperiodism was used by Graner and the Allard for the response of plants to photoperiod, expressed in the form of flowering. Now, on the basis of the photoperiod, I've already told you the definition of the photoperiod. There are three classes of plant: short day plants, long day plants, as well as the day neutral plants. Okay, so we'll discuss about the short day, long day, as well as the day neutral plants in the next session. Okay, we'll study about all of these individually. We'll study about their definitions, okay, and examples. Okay, so this was the end of the session. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening.